Most people don't actually choose their religion. Instead, they're born into families and communities where belief is already established and passed down as absolute truth. From the earliest memories, long before the brain is capable of doubt or critical thinking, children are taught, "This is the truth," not "this is a belief." Bedtime prayers, stories, rituals, holidays, even lullabies all work together to reinforce that framework before a child has the ability to question it. The key point is that children never get the chance to compare or evaluate different belief systems. They are conditioned to accept what they're given as reality. Over time, repetition, praise for obedience, and subtle disapproval for questioning turn those beliefs into part of their identity. By adulthood, most people remain within the faith of their parents, not because they carefully studied every alternative, but because the belief was embedded in their subconscious from childhood. At that point, it's no longer a conscious choice. It's the result of years of conditioning, shaping not only what they believe, but also who they think they are.
Religious indoctrination doesn't usually look like dramatic brainwashing scenes from movies with chanting or locked rooms. Instead, it's much quieter and more subtle. The control works through conditioning, rewarding obedience and punishing doubt. Children quickly learn that repeating prayers or memorizing verses brings smiles, praise, and approval. But raising uncomfortable questions often leads to disapproval, silence, shame, or guilt. These emotional responses are far more powerful than physical punishment because they become internalized. Over time, people begin to police themselves. They avoid doubts, not because someone forces them to, but because they feel guilt or fear whenever doubt arises. The mind itself becomes the cage. This is why religious belief feels natural to so many. It's not the product of free choice, but of long-term emotional reinforcement. The system makes questioning feel dangerous and obedience feel safe, locking people into the faith without them even realizing it. One of the most powerful tactics religions use is tying core human emotions to belief. From an early age, people are taught that love, safety, belonging, purpose, and even self-worth all come from their religion. Without the faith, they are told they are nothing, lost, broken, damned, or unworthy. This emotional anchoring creates a deep dependency. Leaving the religion doesn't just feel like rejecting a belief, it feels like destroying yourself. That's why people rarely stay in religion purely because they think it's true. They stay because they feel their family, sanity, and soul depend on it. The system is designed so that walking away feels like stepping into emptiness. This isn't an accident. It's strategy. By merging emotional needs with doctrine, religions ensure that faith isn't just something you believe, it becomes something you feel you cannot live without. Another universal tactic in religion is the use of fear. It's not only the fear of hell, it's the fear of doubting, of being wrong, of offending a higher power, of being cut off from your community, or even of being ungrateful. This fear is planted so deeply that the very act of questioning feels dangerous. Doubt itself becomes a sin. As a result, people suppress their curiosity, not because they lack questions, but because they feel guilty for asking them. The brain learns to associate uncertainty with danger and curiosity with punishment. This creates a mental cage where obedience feels safer than truth. By turning fear into a constant presence, religions don't just control behavior, they control thought. Fear becomes the invisible chain that keeps people loyal, even when logic tells them to walk away. Religion spreads less through faith and more through inheritance. Children don't choose their religion, they absorb it. A child born into a Muslim family will likely grow up Muslim. A child raised in a Christian household will likely remain Christian. This isn't coincidence, it's indoctrination. From the earliest years, beliefs are presented as unquestionable truths, not ideas to explore. Stories are repeated so often that they blur into memory. Children are praised when they recite verses and corrected when they doubt. This conditioning doesn't just shape what they believe, it shapes who they think they are. Religion becomes part of their identity before they even have the ability to question it. And by the time critical thinking develops, belief already feels natural, like a native language. That's why calling it teaching is misleading. It's not education, it's programming. The line between belief and identity is erased, making religion harder to leave later in life. Religions often present themselves as a path to freedom, a way to find salvation, peace, or ultimate truth. But first, they convince you that you are broken, sinful, or unworthy. They frame you as sick and then they sell you the cure. This is not liberation. It's a cycle of dependency. The system creates the problem and then positions itself as the only solution. Believers hold on, not because the teachings are rational, but because they fear life without them. This mirrors the logic of an abusive relationship. Convince someone that their worth, safety, and happiness exist only through you, and they will cling to you, even when it hurts them. Religion follows the same pattern, except the abuser is invisible and the control is spiritual rather than romantic. The result is not true freedom, but psychological captivity, disguised as salvation. When someone deeply tied to religion is challenged, it's not just their beliefs under attack, it's their identity. Religion weaves itself into family bonds, childhood memories, cultural traditions, and a person's sense of being good. So when you question their faith, you're not simply asking them to reconsider an idea, you're shaking the foundation of their safety, their past, and their belonging. That's why logic alone rarely works. The resistance isn't about rejecting facts. It's about avoiding the emotional collapse that comes with losing the illusion. The brain defends the belief, not because it's stupid, but because it's wired for survival. In this way, religion builds a shield against reason. Doubt feels like betrayal. Curiosity feels like danger. And walking away feels like self-destruction. Religion doesn't survive on belief alone. It thrives on community pressure. Being part of a religious group offers comfort, belonging, and identity. But it also creates a powerful form of control, the fear of losing that community. Humans are social creatures. Acceptance and belonging are as essential as food and shelter. Religions exploit this by tying faith to family bonds, friendships, and social status. Leaving the religion doesn't just mean changing your mind. It can mean losing your parents' approval, your friends' respect, even your entire support system. This pressure is why many people continue practicing rituals they no longer believe in. It's easier to fake faith than to face rejection. The community becomes both a source of love and a tool of enforcement. By fusing spirituality with social survival, religions make doubt costly and conformity safe. In the end, belief is maintained less by conviction and more by the invisible weight of social dependence. Religious texts are vast, contradictory, and often outdated. Yet, believers rarely treat them as literal in their entirety. Instead, They selectively interpret passages to fit modern values or personal preferences. When a verse aligns with compassion, forgiveness, or justice, it is highlighted as divine wisdom. When another passage promotes violence, slavery, or discrimination, it is dismissed as symbolic or taken out of context. This flexibility allows religions to adapt to different cultures and eras, but it also exposes their human origin. If a text were truly divine, its message would be clear, consistent, and timeless. Instead, interpretation is required by priests, scholars, and everyday believers, each reshaping it to suit their needs. In reality, it is not the Scriptures shaping people, but people shaping the Scriptures. Faith survives not by strict obedience to the text, but by the constant act of reinterpretation, filtering out what no longer fits and keeping only what feels acceptable today. One of the strongest reasons people hold on to belief in God is the fear of death. The idea of ceasing to exist is terrifying. So religion offers comfort with promises of heaven, paradise, or eternal life. These beliefs are emotionally powerful because they replace uncertainty with hope. But fear and comfort are not evidence. A story that makes us feel better doesn't make it true. Children may believe in superheroes protecting them at night, but that doesn't mean those heroes exist. In the same way, believing in an afterlife doesn't prove it is real. In fact, fear itself may explain why so many religious traditions evolved. People needed reassurance in the face of mortality, so they created narratives of divine justice, reward, and reunion with loved ones. These stories calm our anxieties, but do not solve the underlying question of whether they are true. Facing death without illusions is difficult, but it also makes life more precious. Instead of waiting for eternity, we value the time we have now. Knowing its limits give it urgency and meaning. The idea of God once helped humanity explain the unknown, offering answers for lightning, disease, and natural disasters. But as science has progressed, those gaps have closed. The more we understand, the less room there is for gods. What remains is not despair, but responsibility. If no divine being is guiding or protecting us, then it is up to us to create meaning, to build justice, and to improve life on earth. Instead of waiting for miracles, we must become the agents of change ourselves. This realization can be frightening because it removes the safety net of divine oversight. Yet, it is also empowering. Life without gods does not become meaningless. It becomes urgent and precious. Our limited time gives us reason to care, to love, to protect, and to question. Faith relies on absence, but reality is here in front of us. We don't need gods to find purpose. We only need the courage to face life as it is, and the humanity to make it better.